In the ancient world, childhood was never a time of idleness. From the banks of the Nile to the streets of Babylon, children were essential participants in family survival, working, learning, and playing within traditions thousands of years old. This episode travels across 4 great civilizations to reveal what daily life truly looked like for the youngest members of ancient societies. In Egypt's workers' villages, homes were modest structures of mud brick with flat roofs used for storage and sleeping during hot months. Families often lived in just 1 or 2 rooms, with a small interior courtyard for cooking and eating. Mornings began early with domestic labour. Grinding grain was among the most essential tasks. Emmer wheat had to be processed daily to produce flour for bread, the foundation of the Egyptian diet. Mothers taught daughters through hands-on demonstration, guiding their grip and posture at the stone saddle quern. This skill would serve them throughout their lives. Younger children played nearby while older siblings worked. Wooden toys with moving parts like hinged hippopotamus figurines have been found in archaeological sites across Egypt. Families ate simple meals together in their courtyards. Flatbread, figs and beer were common fare. The Nile riverbank served as a communal gathering space. Women washed household linen while children swam and played in the shallows. Boys often assisted their fathers with fishing, learning to haul weighted nets heavy with the day's catch. Games of skill with throwing sticks kept children occupied on the banks. Meanwhile, among wealthier families, boys were sent to formal schools. They walked from prosperous neighbourhoods toward temple complexes where scribble training took place, carrying reed baskets filled with writing supplies. Scribal training was rigorous and highly valued. Students spent years mastering hieratic script, a simplified form of hieroglyphics used for administrative and religious documents. Boys copied texts repeatedly onto plaster-coated boards, which could be smoothed and reused once a passage was perfected. Teachers examined each student's work closely, correcting errors in stroke order and form. Students learned literary and religious text by heart, reciting them aloud to demonstrate mastery. Those who succeeded might eventually serve as administrators, priests, or record keepers, positions of significant status in Egyptian society. Across the Mediterranean, childhood unfolded quite differently in classical Athens. Greek society drew sharp distinctions between the lives of boys and girls, shaping their days along separate paths from an early age. Athenian homes were organised around a central courtyard open to the sky. Families gathered, here for meals, worship and daily tasks. Breakfast was a simple affair: barley porridge, olives and watered wine, eaten together before the household dispersed for the day's activities. For citizen boys, formal education began around age 7. Each boy was accompanied outside the home by a paidagogos, a trusted household slave responsible for his safety and conduct. The paidagogos escorted the child through city streets, shielding him from undesirable influences in the busy agora. Schools were modest establishments, often just a single room rented by a teacher. The grammatistes taught reading and writing using wax tablets and a bronze stylus. Letters were scratched into soft beeswax, then smoothed flat for correction and reuse. Oral recitation formed the core of Greek literary education. Boys memorized passages from Homer's epics, learning to speak with proper rhythm and pronunciation, skills considered essential for future citizens. Physical training was considered as important as reading and writing. After morning lessons, boys walked to the palestra, a dedicated training ground for athletic exercise. Here they practiced wrestling, running, and other sports under the supervision of adult trainers. Boys oiled their skin before exercise and scraped it clean afterward with a curved bronze tool called a strigil. Athletic ability carried deep significance in Greek culture. Competition prepared boys for military service and civic participation. Physical strength, endurance, and grace were seen as reflections of inner virtue. While boys trained and studied, their sisters remained at home. Athenian girls received no formal schooling. Instead, they learned domestic skills from their mothers: weaving, spinning, and food preparation. These abilities were considered essential for managing a future household. Weaving held particular importance. A woman's skill at the loom reflected her virtue and industriousness. Girls began learning young, progressing from simple spinning to complex patterns over years of practice. Most clothing and household textiles were produced at home. Even food preparation was a shared activity between mothers and daughters, passing knowledge from one generation to the next. Across the Italian peninsula, childhood in imperial Rome unfolded against a backdrop of crowded streets and towering apartment buildings. The city teemed with activity at all hours. Children navigated this urban landscape daily, encountering merchants, performers, and travellers from across the empire. Most Roman families lived in multi-storey brick apartment blocks called insulae. Upper floors were cramped, hot in summer, and accessed by steep wooden stairs. Running water did not reach these heights. Residents carried water up from public fountains. Children helped with this labour from an early age, hauling heavy jugs up multiple flights alongside their mothers. Working-class children often learned their father's trade through daily observation and hands-on practice. A cobbler's son might spend years beside his father, fetching tools and materials before eventually learning to cut and stitch leather himself. This apprenticeship model prepared children for adulthood without formal schooling, practical skills passed directly from parent to child. For families who could afford it, basic education was available at small schools scattered throughout the city. These schools met in rented spaces or under shop awnings, exposed to the noise and bustle of the street. A single teacher, called a ludi magister, instructed children of varying ages in reading, writing and arithmetic. Students practiced letters on wax tablets, erasing mistakes with the flat end of their stylus. Discipline was strict. Teachers carried thin canes and did not hesitate to use them. Parents paid modest fees for these lessons, exchanging coins directly with the teacher at the end of each session. Wealthy Roman children experienced education very differently. In elite households, Greek slaves often served as private tutors, teaching literature, philosophy, and the Greek language, considered essential for cultured Romans. Girls in these families sometimes received the same instruction as their brothers, a privilege unavailable to lower classes. Children of the wealthy also had more time for leisure. Dolls with jointed limbs, board games, and toys filled their days between lessons. Even play sometimes crossed social boundaries. Children of slaves and children of masters occasionally played together within the household. Far to the east, another great civilization shaped children's lives along the banks of the Euphrates. Babylon, jewel of Mesopotamia, dazzled visitors with its blue-glazed walls and towering ziggurats. Here too, children woke each morning to routines of work, learning, and family obligation. Babylonian homes were typically organised around a central courtyard open to the sky, providing light and ventilation in the hot climate. Families cooked, worked, and gathered in this shared space. Bread baking was a daily necessity, and daughters learned the process young, mixing barley flour with water, shaping dough, and managing the cylindrical clay oven. Younger children played nearby while older family members worked. Archaeologists have uncovered small clay animal figurines throughout Mesopotamian sites, simple toys that kept children entertained for hours. Family meals brought everyone together, seated on woven mats around shared dishes of bread, dates, and porridge. Beer, brewed at home from fermented barley, was the common drink for adults. Many boys followed their fathers into family trades. A potter's son began by kneading clay, a task that built strength and taught him the material's properties. Over months and years, he progressed to shaping simple vessels under his father's guidance. Mastery took time. The potter's wheel demanded coordination, patience, and a sensitive touch. For boys from wealthier or more ambitious families, a different path existed. The Aduba, or tablet house, trained future scribes in the complex art of cuneiform writing. Students pressed wedge-shaped marks into wet clay using a cut-reed stylus, copying administrative texts, literary works, and mathematical tables. Training was demanding and could last a decade or more. Memorization supplemented writing practice. Students chanted multiplication tables and standard phrases until they became automatic. Those who completed this training might serve as temple administrators, royal scribes, or merchant record keepers. As evening fell, Babylonian families often retreated to their flat rooftops to escape the heat trapped in lower rooms. Here, under vast skies, children drifted to sleep as another day ended,